Welcome to today's webcast. This call is being recorded. And now, to begin the program, I'd like to introduce Tracy Cook.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webcast, How Matrix Medical Network Reinvented Their Customer Experience with Couchbase Mobile, sponsored by Couchbase. I'm Tracy Cook with adtmag.com, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us. Before we begin, I'd like to take care of a couple of housekeeping details. Please feel free to type your questions into the Ask a Question box on the console at any time during the presentation. We'll address as many of your questions as we can during the live event. And the entire webcast is being recorded and will be archived for future viewing. And we'll send you an email when the replay is available. And that should be in approximately 24 to 48 hours. And you can access the replay using the same link you used today. And now I'd like to move ahead and introduce our speakers. Up a little later is Preeti. She is the Director of Application Development and Technical Solutions at Matrix Medical Network, where she oversees the development and deployment of business-critical applications, including commercial health assessments, pediatric assessments, and other health assessments for Medicaid and Medicare population. Preeti is a certified enterprise architect and specializes in building the most optimal mobile and web architectural frameworks using JavaScript, NoSQL, Java, J2EE, Spring, and REST technologies. And kicking it off today is Ali Leclerc. He's the product marketing manager for Couchbase Mobile. She manages and executes the worldwide marketing strategy for their mobile products. She joined Couchbase in 2011 to drive open source product adoption and awareness. Prior to her time at Couchbase, Ali held multiple marketing positions at Time Warner. So we're in great shape today, and I'd like to turn the event over to Ali.
Great. Thanks, Tracy. I'm excited to be here, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Before we kind of dive in here, I want to quickly talk about what we'll be talking about today in the webinar. First, I'll kind of spend some time talking about the challenges in creating mobile experiences for your users and your customers. Next, I'll spend a little bit of time talking about the Couchbase Data Platform, which includes Couchbase Mobile. And then I'm going to kick things over to Preeti, who will be diving into the Matrix Medical Network use case, how they're using Couchbase Mobile, kind of the challenges that they face, and where they're headed with the technology. And then we've allotted some time at the end of the webinar for Q&A. So as Tracy mentioned, feel free to pop those questions into that Q&A box, and we are happy to answer them. So kicking it off, challenges in creating mobile experiences. So we're seeing today an explosion of mobile web, IoT, big data apps. Businesses are building more apps than ever before, and they're building them for their customers, and they're building them for their employees, and they're building them for their partners. So they're building them for a ton of different kinds of people. And these apps are deployed to more than just phones and web browsers. They're on wearables, they're on tablets, they're on cars, they're on appliances. They're really on machines of all different types, generating and accessing massive amounts of data. And they're all delivering real-time, personalized experiences, bringing data back into the company to drive intelligent, better decisions and innovation. And really, it's all around creating more efficient, more effective businesses. And so the success of building these mobile web and IoT apps highly depends on a platform that can manage this type of data, this mobile data, this IoT data on the device, over the web, and in the cloud. And integrating your mobile and IoT apps with the backend database is super important. So with this explosion of apps, customers now expect these exceptional mobile experiences, and that expectation is now something that is very feature-rich and personalized, experiences that are accessible anywhere and that are really fast, data that's secure, and really it's all around these experiences having to be available all the time, both online and offline. But what's holding you back from creating these personalized experiences? Well, it's not just really about managing data in a data center. In fact, it's centralized data that might be holding you back, because mobile data spans the web, it spans mobile devices, and it spans IoT, and your users, your customers, your partners need access to that data everywhere it's created, from the cloud to the edge. And you need a mobile solution that resolves those data storage, access, transport, availability, and security challenges. Really what you need is a full stack solution, a solution that manages data across the entire application and network stack. So going a bit deeper, besides centralized data, which I just talked about, what are the key challenges with creating these mobile experiences? Well, there are 4 data challenges to solve for when building mobile applications. The first is data management from the cloud to the edge. So you need a solution for reading, writing, querying, and searching data on mobile, and moving that data to and from devices in the cloud. Next is data availability for apps that always work online and offline. The infrastructure needed to support mobile apps typically spans, as I mentioned, the devices themselves, the internet, a web tier, and the cloud. So you need a solution that enables that data availability across those tiers, which typically includes high availability and disaster recovery, performance, and scalability. Next are data integration APIs for integrating into your existing ecosystem. So mobilizing your legacy systems is critical for many enterprises. In fact, a ton of our customers are leveraging Couchbase Mobile in this way. So you should be able to easily integrate your mobile apps with any data source, like systems of record, data warehouses, etc. And then last, I have data security from the cloud to the edge. So, of course, securing data throughout the stack is so critical, as more of your customers are engaging with your business from their phones and tablets. And specifically, it's the ability to secure data in motion over the web, as well as data at rest on the device and in the cloud. So before we move on, let's just take a look at a typical homegrown mobile application platform. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, but first you have your database tier where your systems of record live, most likely with a cache on top of those. And you have your intranet network layer. Sorry, I moved ahead quickly. And security on top of both. And then next you have your middle tier, which I just put up on the screen, where your web services live. And of course you have your internet network layer and security on top of both. And last, you have your client tier, and this is where the devices themselves actually are. That's your mobile phones, your tablets, your wearables, etc., and of course security on top of that. So all these devices need to move data to the database tier over the internet, and most likely that's via some sort of RESTful services architecture, all of which you have to build and manage. So this is what connected apps typically looks like today. And looking at this holistically, you have separate technologies and integrations you have to build, you have to manage, you have to piece together, you have to build out those web services, you have to manage all those client databases, you have to handle all of the integrations, you have to build out your database tier, and then you have to manage the security policies separately across all of these tiers. So you can see that a homegrown mobile application platform can be really complex to build and to manage. And of course, syncing data from devices all the way to the cloud is really hard to build and manage. Apps may or may not work offline in that scenario. And most of the time you have to custom build your data APIs to integrate with existing systems. So wouldn't it be better to have a solution that solves all of these challenges for you? Well, I'm excited to share with you Couchbase Mobile. Couchbase Mobile is the full stack mobile data platform. It resolves the challenges associated with creating those mobile experiences and building mobile apps that we just talked about. That's data management, data availability, data integration, and data security. So Couchbase Mobile consists of 3 different components. First you have Couchbase Lite, which is our full-featured embedded NoSQL database. It runs locally on the device. It includes complete offline support with full CRUD and query functionality. Next you have Sync Gateway. So Sync Gateway is our secure web gateway that enables synchronization and data access over the web. It includes configurable synchronization, REST, stream, batch, and event APIs for both data access and synchronization. And then last we have Couchbase Server. This is our flagship, highly scalable, blazing fast NoSQL database server. It runs in any cloud or on-premise. And so these are the 3 components that make up the Couchbase Mobile full stack data platform. And then, of course, at the bottom, you can see security. So we have built-in enterprise-level security throughout the entire stack. That includes user authentication, user and role-based data access control, secure transport over TLS, and 256-bit AES full database encryption. So very strong security from end to end, from the cloud to the edge. So going back to what we talked about, that typical homegrown mobile application, let's kind of see how Couchbase Mobile fits into this story. So managing all those data concerns in the database tier, well, you have Couchbase Server in the cloud. Again, any cloud, cloud agnostic or on-prem. Managing the data concerns over the web, you have Sync Gateway. And then managing the data concerns on the device, you have Couchbase Lite. And then across the entire stack, you have that enterprise-level security built in. And last, I just want to point out that Sync Gateway APIs allow you to integrate with your existing ecosystem, whether it's your system of record or whatever legacy systems you need to mobilize, other data sources. Couchbase Sync Gateway allows you to integrate with those systems. So looking at this holistically, Couchbase Mobile gives you one platform to manage the client, middle, and database tiers. Built-in synchronization via Sync Gateway for managing data transport between the device and the cloud, and the capability to create mobile experiences that work online and offline. And then, as I just mentioned, those APIs that enable easy integration with your existing ecosystem. And I just want to spend a minute or two on what exactly Couchbase is. So this is Couchbase, one system with everything you need to create engagement and experiences for your customers. We talked about the mobile component, of course, Couchbase Mobile. Couchbase includes a lot more in its data platform. It has elastic scale-out architecture as well as memory-first architecture. And in addition to mobile, there are many things you can do with Couchbase. Key value, query, search, analytics, of course, mobile and IoT. All of this built into a single platform. So I just wanted to show you the holistic view of the Couchbase Data Platform. Of course, we have been talking about Couchbase Mobile, but just so that everyone understands really what the Couchbase Data Platform is. So with Couchbase Mobile, you get one complete, integrated, and secure platform that manages all those data challenges across your entire mobile application stack. So before I kick things over to Preeti, I just wanted to talk quickly about some of the technical mobile use cases that we're seeing today from our customers in our market that are really powering these engaging customer experiences. So first is user profile database. You can store all your user profile information on the mobile device for online and offline availability, including things like activity logs, game state, preferences, and a ton more. And one important thing to highlight here is that Couchbase Mobile actually enables offline user profile ability, which is the ability for a user to access their profile within an app, even if they're offline, which is super powerful. Next, we see a lot around field enablement, field sales, field order management, field maintenance, field inventory management. So with Couchbase Mobile, you can enable your remote employees to read and write critical business data, both online and offline, regardless of network availability. Next, we have asset tracking. So you can track and manage assets with a mobile device on a factory floor, for example, or maybe in a remote field, or really anywhere else, all the time, regardless of network availability. Next is user activity log. So users can log their activities on their mobile device, wherever they are, online and offline. This could be things like diet, exercise, health data, a ton more different types of information that can be logged with Couchbase Mobile, again, in that online or offline scenario. Next is application asset management. So you can manage data locally on the device and then sync updates as they occur, which helps with a faster user experience, again, both online and offline. Endpoint data management connects and manages data from IoT endpoints like health devices, machines, smart appliances, and more. And that includes data storage and sync from device to cloud. And then last, we have peer-to-peer data management. which essentially is allowing you to synchronize data directly from device to device via peer-to-peer without having to retrieve data from the cloud, another very powerful use case. So just a kind of a high-level overview of how many of our customers are leveraging the power of Couchbase Mobile in their business-critical, mission-critical applications today. And then just a few examples of some customers doing some real things. So Dottle, if you're not familiar, is a ship and pickup package delivery company based in the UK. They're using Couchbase Mobile to power their storefronts and enable their employees to manage all the orders they have coming into the store and all the pickups that they have on a daily basis with or without a network connection. So offline was super important for them. The security, ensuring that customers were picking up the correct packages was also very critical to their use case. And really it's all around enabling employees to access package information without an internet connection. So that's the Dottle use case. Next is GE. So GE uses Couchbase Mobile to power its Predix platform, which is its software platform for the industrial internet. So Predix powers machines like wind farms, turbines, remote rail yards, things that are counted on to kind of work all day, every day, for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So again, offline was really important for them. Field technicians have to perform maintenance on all this machinery regardless of network connectivity, and syncing was very important. GE actually tried to build their own synchronization solution and spent over a year. And then when they discovered Couchbase Mobile, this was a few years ago, they were able to move to Couchbase Mobile within 90 days and had a fully fledged syncing mobile solution to enable their remote field team to perform that maintenance on the machinery, to synchronize data from mobile devices to the cloud, which is huge for them. And then, of course, easy integration with existing systems. So Couchbase Mobile, as we talked about earlier, enables you via our API integration set to integrate with your existing legacy systems, which is what GE is using Couchbase Mobile for as well. Next is Ryanair. So Ryanair uses Couchbase Mobile to store semi-static data locally and sync updates as they occur, which provides an overall faster, much better user experience from a booking perspective. So if you're not familiar, Ryanair is one of the most widely used airlines in Europe. So the problem they were facing was all around application performance from a user perspective via the booking process. So bookings were taking forever to complete. User experience wasn't great. There was a lot of frustration. But moving to a synchronization-based architecture with Couchbase Mobile, as opposed to a REST architecture, allowed them to decrease their data transfer from about 80 gigs a day to 10 gigs a day, and overall create a much better booking experience for their users. And last is BD. So BD is a Fortune 500 healthcare company doing some really, really innovative things with Couchbase Mobile. So what they're doing is enabling patients to share real-time health data, specifically diabetic data, enabling patients to share this data with their doctors, who can then provide real-time diagnostics and care, which is radically changing that traditional patient-doctor relationship. So patients are able to provide up-to-date glucose measurements and insulin shot timings and diet, etc., where doctors can then take that information in real time and make changes and monitor their patients' health data all in real time. So really innovative, doing some very exciting things from a healthcare perspective. So that's BD. So if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about any of the 4 use cases I just talked about, everything is up on the Couchbase.com website. Feel free to take a spin through how our customers are using Couchbase Mobile. So with that, I'm going to kick things over to Preethi, who I'm sure you've all been waiting patiently for. She's going to talk about the Matrix Medical Network use case, how they're using Couchbase Mobile, and Preethi, I will let you take it from here.
Thanks, Ali. You can see if I move my screens, are you able to see it? Looks okay. All right.
Yep.
So So a little bit introduction about myself. I come with a Java development background, Java J2EE. The past 2 years I've been leading architecture and development of native mobile apps using Android programming here at Matrix Medical Network. Since the last year, I have led the team through architecting and development of mobile hybrid applications using Cordova, JavaScript libraries, Couchbase, and Couchbase Mobile. Just introduction and what we do here at Matrix Medical Network. So we have a set of nationwide nurse practitioners who visit members in their homes and skilled nursing facilities. We partner with healthcare insurance companies nationwide to provide comprehensive healthcare assessments and care management services. I want to talk a little bit about the application we have currently, that is the legacy application, which has done its job quite well for us. But there is at some point with the ever-changing business and how fast Matrix Medical is growing here, that we definitely need to have some application or architecture which can adapt to the ever-changing business needs here at Matrix Medical Network. So the challenges we have with our current application, which is the legacy app, is the app is really locked down to Android operating system, and it cannot go on iOS or Windows or any other web browser. And so the user interface of this application is pretty much static. That means any change we need to make to the user interface, and most of the enterprises today have really has this challenge where the business wants to change a lot of requirements because the business is growing, and you want your technology and your architecture built in to be able to adapt to these business needs, and they want quick turnarounds, quick development cycles, quick testing cycles, and deployment. So this is the most challenging thing you will face as the business grows, really. The code to render the user interface was really within the APK deployable itself. So all our UI and the layouts were all hard-coded. And we have to be, and the one of the biggest requirements here we have is to make the application work offline. So as Ali was stating before, that is a challenge when you have a mobile application to make it work offline. So we have the current architecture with our legacy we have is there is SQLite database on the device, and there is SQL Server. And the data syncs between the SQLite and SQL Server. And of course, we have built a synchronization mechanism where with Java and RESTful endpoints and also web services that is constantly syncing data back and forth from SQLite to SQL Server. And there are multiple batch jobs triggering different data processing streams because it needs to go to other different parts of our enterprise. So what it does to us is this poses a great need to just have a development team, just maintain, build and maintain and test and deploy the synchronization services. And not only that, we also have to think about whether you do a delta sync or whether you want to do a full sync, because sync is hard. We all know that. To ensure that the data from the device is really synced back to our servers. And if you want to do a delta of it, or you want to do a full sync. So if you're going to do a full sync, you need to understand that from the server, to push everything down to the device. We also need to understand that if there is some data that is not synced back to your servers, you might really lose the data. So you need to be very careful with the bandwidth that is going back and forth continuously. And also, we primarily had XML as our data storage because JSON works great with your mobile applications, right? So in order to convert JSON back into an XML, because we were storing XML within our SQL servers, so that we used to take the JSON from the device, convert it into an XML, and store it into a SQL, which was really difficult for us to manipulate the XML and query off of XML and stuff like that. So these are really the biggest challenges we had, and really the flexibility that we could provide we were not able to provide the flexibility with our great business growth that we had at Matrix Medical here network. We really wanted to decide for ourselves what we want to do when we reinvent our mobile platform. So we started out this last year. We were all locked up in that room. There were a lot of brainstorming sessions going on to decide what kind of application we want to have Matrix and what is our technical roadmap for Matrix and even the business roadmap, how Matrix is going to diversify the different products and how easy is it for us to develop an application which is really flexible for us to move forward with. So these came out as one of our key requirements. As I've already stated before, the application must work offline. So we have a large number of users nationwide which are using this application. They're all deployed in places where there is very, very poor connectivity. So they don't have 4G or 3G or Wi-Fi. So we cannot provide them a bad user experience. So we definitely had to have an application that works offline. We did a couple of build versus buy analysis too to see if you can have a product which supports this, and we ended up deciding we will do a build with exploring all the new technologies that we have in the market today. So the second requirement was real-time syncing. That means the users really shouldn't have to do anything to have their data on the device transmitted to our servers. So it must be, once the connectivity has been established wherever they are, we need to have something which auto-syncs the data back and forth, and it should not be at all visible for the user because we don't want them to be worried about if they sync the data back or not. And another requirement was we wanted it to be expanded to multiple operating systems. That means if we develop an application which is because before we had native Android applications, so we wanted to reinvent our platform in a way that it could go on Android or iOS or Windows or even other browser. It shouldn't really matter. So that was one of our requirements. And also flexibility. So this is something which is very, very critical for us. So as we grow and diversify Matrix Medical products here, we want to be able to have user interfaces and forms that the request that comes from our clients that we should be able to cater to them, adapt to it really, really quickly. So we came up with a solution that we would use JSON forms, which will really minimize our development effort, possibly without any deployment at all, because you can see in coming slides how we have achieved that. And flexible data models, so primarily XML was becoming really hard for us to provide flexibility that our business really needed. And so we came up with JSON modeling, which Couchbase provides very efficiently for us. And also the data capture. So, for example, you have 10 fields in your user interface, and you want to change it to like 20 because the business is asking you to change the user interface. The data capture has changed now. So we need to be able to ensure that you're not breaking any systems down, and and the deployments and the SDLC cycles that we have would be very, very minimal. So going back to last year, and we were thinking, what do we do? I mean, who did we really evaluate to see the biggest providers in the NoSQL space and what they actually do? So we looked at a couple of products, which is like MongoDB, which is popular, and Cassandra, which is also popular. But one of the biggest things that it lacked was the sync management. It could work well for other enterprises, but since we were building mobile apps, we really, really needed the sync management. So we had to eliminate that out. We also looked at Couch and CouchDB, which is really a good candidate for us for syncing. Many enterprises we've seen use it, but some of the challenges we saw as for it to be used as a persistent store was, so it's really, CouchDB is a JavaScript database that runs within a browser, and it's really dependent on your local storage. So if you use Internet Explorer versus Firefox or Chrome, it just depends on what local storage it has. And it usually has like 50 MB data storage, I think, and uses, IndexedDB mostly. if your browser storage was ever cleared and you have data that is not synced to your CouchDB, then you might be losing the data. And also to use CouchDB as like a persistent store, with Couchbase, I think going back to what Ali was mentioning, you have all high availability features or auto failover. If one node goes down, you can fail over to another node and still keep your apps up and running. So some of the features we did not see. And one of the critical things we are using here is the channel support that Couchbase Mobile and Sync Gateway provides, and we didn't see that support there. And also, the nickel querying, which is, I think, very, very important if you're coming from a SQL world, and most enterprises have come from SQL world, and it's very easy to adapt to your nickel querying from there.
Preeti?
Yeah?
Could you speak up a little?
Oh, sure. You cannot hear me?
No, we can hear you, but if you were a little louder, that would be better.
Okay.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you.
So the solution, can you hear me okay now? Okay. So the solution we came up with Couchbase Mobile, as I won't dig deep into it because Ali already has given what the product does. And the Couchbase Lite, it's a device database. It provides offline capability, which was very, very important for us. And, the Sync gateways, they provide this channel support where you can really specify which documents have access to, what users have access to those documents. And the Couchbase server, it provides a NoSQL database, a JSON store, and you could do nickel querying and also a cross data center application through Couchbase Mobile. So this is a solution we chose for our mobile platform. So going back to Matrix Medical mobile architecture that we have here. So we use, since we want to support multiple operating systems, so we use Cordova plugin for CB Lite, following the right ones and compile on multiple platforms. So the application we have is built using React.js and Redux to easily maintain application state. So if you are a React.js fan, there are some cool features that developers love if you are into React. So basically, using Redux, the whole application state is stored in an object tree within a single store. And to change the state, an action needs to be emitted describing what really happened, what just happened. And we use reducers to actually specify how the transformation happens between each state. If you are interested to learn more about Redux, you could go up to redux.js.org, and it's just not with React.js. You could use Redux with other JavaScript libraries too if you wish to use. So each user on the device, they're authenticated against the Active Directory. And we use the custom authentication within Couchbase Mobile. So it lets you use the Sync gateway comes up with, you can use any kind of authentication, and it also provides a custom auth. That means you can really authenticate your users using LDAP. So once the user is authenticated, the user is created. We can post the user to Couchbase. And if the user is not created, just if you can post the user, create the user, and you can, if the user is already present, you just update the user and it returns you a valid, session token. So this is one of our, security concerns that we had, that we really need to use, see which users were able to access these documents on Couchbase. So which means that if you're not registered as a user on Couchbase, you could really block them from accessing, doing any kind of transactions within your system. So the session token that the Couchbase, the Sync gateway returns is something very, very critical. So that, so the default TTL for that, time to live, is 24 hours. So for 24 hours, you have that session valid. And all the syncing happens from CB Lite to your Couchbase server using the valid session. And when the user gets created, you can create the user to have access to any kind of channels they want. So channel is just literally a tag within your document. So you can have the users access to their own channels and also some of the global channels. So if you want to have the users access multiple documents to render their UI layouts, you would push it to a channel which is accessible by all the users, and they can read and documents from there. So this channel support, it lets us push the specific task assignments to the users via their specific channels. So for example, we have tasks for a user. The user has to complete task 1 through task 5. And another user has to complete task 6 through task 10. These are really documents, the JSON documents within the database, which we are pushing through the Sync Gateway, and the users, and they are tagged with the user-specific channel, and they can access it on their application, on their device when they log on using the custom authentication. Expanding our architecture. So this is the devices that are connecting to through the load balancer, and if they are going through Sync Gateway 1 and 2, we have 2 nodes of Sync Gateway and 3 nodes of Couchbase servers. So as I was telling before, for us, the flexible JSON forms and the dynamic UI rendering was really, really important. So we had to really be able to change the UI as per our request from our clients, and this we are achieving using JSON forms, which we directly push through the forms channel, and every user will have access to these channels. So So since when we create the user, we specify that the users have access to their own channels where they see their task assignments to complete, and also they have access to global channels like the UI layout channel where they can really render the UI dynamically on the device. And we use React.js renderers to actually render this UI. So users access the UI through the JSON forms that's pushed down. So they capture the data, they enter the data, and that's all they have to worry about. The data is synced automatically through the Sync Gateway. And all the configuration files, and if you want to specify any dynamic messages or if you want to specify any changes in your data list. Say, for example, this is like an ever-changing need that comes through your business requirements and, prioritization and stuff like that. So if you have, say, a drop-down and you have like 3 values in a drop-down, like, say, for example, MongoDB, Couch, and Firebase, or whatnot, and then you want to change it to like 5 different elements in the drop-down, you could easily do that just using the JSON forms and the recipe with the JSON forms, and also having Couchbase Sync Gateways dynamically render those forms on your application. I think that's something really, really important for if you want any kind of flexibility. And also, if they want to present some dynamic messages to the users and based on their use cases, so you say, for maybe there was something like, please, after you complete your task assignments, please review and complete these kind of education documents. Now you want to change those messages dynamically to say, please go to your manager, talk to your manager, and complete your documents. So based on that, based on different use cases and what the user has access to, you can dynamically push those messages in without really even having any kind of deployment. So which was very, very important for us. Going into a little bit of how we have configured replication within our code itself. So we are currently using Coax library to make the CB Lite REST calls on the port 5984. So we would probably move to Swagger, which is recommended by Couchbase. So you see on the right side of the slide, you see how your payload is. You see, how we have configured our push and pull. So we really use continuous push and pull replication. So you have the source and the targets here, and you have the URLs there, which is, Sync Gateway URL, and also it says the port that you connect the Sync Gateways on, which is like 4984, and your bucket name, which you're using at your database level. So And once this is what is used, the cookie, this is the cookie that comes back the T2 after you get the session token, valid session token back from your sync gateway. This is what is really critical for us, for the syncing to happen. So once this is done, CV Lite stores a local checkpoint, that really reflects the last communication handoff that happened between the CV Lite and your sync gateway. And there is also active tasks that we watch to see if the tasks were the synchronization, if it's paused, it succeeded, or if it's stopped. So based on this, we can determine if the sync was successful or not. So once the app is really open and initialized, we initialize the database. And also one of the things we use with CV Lite is the views. So in order to query your CV Lite, we have to use views to query the CV Lite. So the views are also initialized. You have to put data in the views and emit whatever documents you want from an emit function that is provided. We are eagerly waiting for 2.0, CV Lite 2.0, to actually start querying CV Lite, in real time. I want to talk a little bit about the local documents. So you might need within your applications when you don't want these documents to be really synced onto your Couchbase server, and you just want your documents to use for your internal application manipulation, or you want to carry data from one screen to another screen. You really don't care if that data really goes to your server or not. So you can really use local documents to achieve that. These are REST and calls, get and put. One thing good about Couchbase and Couchbase Mobile is everything is a REST endpoint. So if you know how to do REST calls and work with JSON, I think you will go really far with it. So this is the heart of your configuration and how the sync really happens, which is the sync gateway config file. So this is where you specify what sync gateway connects to. So this is a file which connects sync gateways to the Couchbase buckets, and these are actually administered as a put request on your admin port, which is like 4985. So whenever you restart your sync gateways, you need to specify sync gateway to connect by putting this config file so that it connects to your endpoints and your clusters, Couchbase clusters. So any kind of validation you want to do here, you could using the sync function. If you want to say that this is a JSON document and this is the value within the JSON document, and you don't want that to sync, so you can really say this value is something within your JSON file, forbidden, and do not sync it. So you can control a lot of things here within your sync function, and you really get this document change events within your sync gateways, and so it really tells you if your document within your database changed or not. Say there is a version 1.1 something on your Couchbase server which is pushed through the sync gateways, and CV Lite has a version of 1.0. So it knows. So whenever the document changes within CV Lite, first it tries to get your latest version with a pull replication, get your CV Lite in sync, and then you can put back your version, like the 1.0 version. So if you get a document changed event and you really have a type something, this is sometimes it is speedy. It helps you in developing something very rapidly where you don't have to create your batch jobs. And say, for example, you want this process to go to another endpoint. So say the document is of type assigned and you want that to go to another REST endpoint, you could really push this, if you can specify here to say if the document is type of status is assigned, then post it to somewhere else where, some others can look at it and see what they want to do with it and complete the workflow. And another thing we use here is attachment syncing. So some of our users have Some of our users have PDFs and maybe images in future to attach to the document. Instead of building our own syncing mechanism, we actually use the attachments within Couchbase Mobile and Sync Gateway to push the PDFs through. So attachments are just some data blobs which can be stored separately from your JSON. So you can use _attachments tag within the same JSON document to do that. So the good thing is if you just change, say there is name and occupation, if you were to just change a name there from John to something else, if the attachment has not changed, that will not try to resend the attachment again, clogging your network bandwidth, stuff like that. So you can have multiple attachments in the same document, and only the attachments that have changed since the last sync will be transferred over the network. This is something we are using, and it's very handy and useful for us. So going to some of the key benefits that we had by moving into this platform. So as I mentioned before, like any new document that is generated through the partner applications, it automatically syncs to the user's device without having any code changes. And, the JSON forms, which is really the user interface for our app, it can be pushed to Couchbase server in real time using Sync Gateway, and you don't need to do any deployments. As long as you're connected, you have your latest and greatest UI there. And, flexible data model support, which is achieved through, again, JSON forms and capturing data in the JSON format. And the nickel queries, so we use this primarily to actually query Couchbase. We do use Java SDK in our other applications to query Couchbase documents, and also we use REST endpoints to query on 18093 port, which is an HTTPS REST endpoint port. Also, most of our documents, we provide key indexing, and also we use global secondary indexes. We don't use primary index because it's not advisable to use in production. Really the workflow would be the user enters the data into the task assignments document, and they complete their documents, and the sync automatically happens. So the business services who is supposed to verify those documents, review those documents, and they either complete the review or set the documents to say if there is some error within the documents, they set them to errors. And the good thing about this is the users don't have to wait for a thing to happen. So instantaneously when they update these documents as errored out, the user on the device sees that, oh, there is an error, I need to correct these documents, and they correct this data and send us through. So the life cycle and the workflow that we have here is really, really instantaneous, and there is no wait time. So that's what we see. We call it a real-time error detection with the data that is submitted from the devices. Couchbase server, I think it definitely simplifies all the replication jobs that you have with RDBMS, just with doing a cross data center application, adding more nodes, and if you are seeing more load, you can add more nodes, and you could actually rebalance easily via the admin console. So the documents get segregated across those nodes eventually. And also it can be extended to, have Spark and Kafka and Hadoop Elasticsearch extensions, which probably will get into it, how to efficiently do data analytics within our company here, which is really good for us because we do a lot of data capture. We really want to do some kind of analytics and see what we get out of it. Couchbase Lite and Sync Gateway, as we had so much of development effort with all the REST endpoints and sync services to maintain our built-in sync. So we don't have to do that anymore, which is really good. And we always ensure the users have latest and greatest data, and there is no lag time for them. They don't have to wait for any processes to happen to see the errors. It is almost instantaneous. So Cordova plugin, it allows multiple operating systems development and write ones compiled in different platforms, and it helps us do that. And channel support, so you just send the specific documents to the respective users, and you don't they don't have to see the documents, or you don't have to filter the documents. based on what the users actually request. And everything the server is handling and pushing those documents down to your devices. Flexible development using JSON, and I can say from the last 1 year, and my team can vouch to that, we've changed our design so many times, and we don't have any big issues of, I cannot change this design now because, just something is very much, we're too much in the way, and it's very time consuming because we use JSON. It's really easy for us to add different fields within them, and actually you enjoy development through that if you know how to manipulate your JSONs. PDF attachments, that is one of we had many issues with building in the syncing in our legacy application, to push the PDFs back and forth. So leaving it to sync gateways to take care of it is something really, really critical for us. And I hope we won't see those issues again with syncing PDFs back and forth and redoing it manually versus having your system do it. So app works offline without any noticeable difference, so the users don't see something didn't run, or they have to wait for some data to come in. And if they're offline too, they don't even know that they're offline until something happens on the server side, and we realize that the data is not syncing and stuff. So that's all I have, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here, and thanks to Matrix Medical, my company, which has given us this opportunity for me and my team to innovate and come up with this kind of architecture, which will really help transform the business for us. And thank you. Thanks, Ali and Tracy.
Thank you. We really appreciate your presentation. We're ready to ask some questions. So let me get right to it. But first I want to remind the audience to please use the Q&A box on the left side of your console to submit questions. We have a little bit of time, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay. The first question I have is, how has Couchbase performed compared to your previous SQL Server DB? And what throughput and response time? So really, we are not like a big data company here. So we, as I primarily said, so for us to choose between SQL Server and Couchbase was really what we do with sync management and storing JSON and how efficiently you query JSON. We have done some kind of response time. So to do a full performance load, I think we do like 10,000 IOPS or something per second, and it performed really well for us doing the SQL Server and the Couchbase throughputs.
Okay, great. Would you like me to ask you the questions?
Sorry?
Oh, I can go through and ask you the next question.
Yeah.
How long did it take for your team to become effective with Couchbase once you decided on this direction?
Honestly, it was our team. We were looking forward to figuring out how we can implement this whole architecture stack, and it is not easy for any company which has its system already built and using there has to be some drastic business requirement that came in that really led us to this. We did do a lot of POCs, and we made sure that the syncing is working fine, and we were able to talk back to the Couchbase servers. Probably it went to 2 months to do this POC and come up with that this is what we take this is how we are going into this direction.
Very good. I think I have a question here for Ali, and it's how is Couchbase Mobile different than Firebase?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for those who aren't familiar, Firebase is a Google product, Google Firebase. It's a mobile backend as a service, MBAS. So in terms of how we're different, obviously we are not a mobile backend as a service. You're managing the Couchbase mobile stack. That said, it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a managed solution that will be hosted, in the Google Cloud, and at the end of the day, you won't own the data. Firebase will own your data. You would probably look to Firebase for your solution. If you're looking for a product that allows you to run in any cloud, it's open source and allows you to own your own data, then Couchbase would be the solution for you. Really, it's all around vendor lock-in. A lot of our customers who evaluated both Firebase and Couchbase Mobile wanted to avoid the vendor lock-in that Firebase typically asks their customers to be a part of. And so that's a very high level. Of course, there are some technical differentiations that I won't get into now, but from a high level, it's your hosted solution versus non-hosted, and being cloud agnostic versus being locked into a cloud.
Okay, great. Thank you. Here's a question for Preeti. What's on the roadmap for Couchbase Mobile at Matrix Medical?
So we have started with our one product on this right now. So we really want to diversify next year and have more products on Couchbase Mobile, and also maybe we would build some applications which our members will be able to download and use, since we have the technology already built in and the architecture built in for Matrix Medical. And also we will be looking at some data analytics point of view as well, see how we can efficiently use the data, stream it to another system and analyze it, and see what we can do there as well.
Very good. Here's another question. How was the learning curve getting on to Couchbase? How'd that go?
It was a little bit of a steep learning curve, I would say, but we went to a lot of the Couchbase days helped. So me and my team, we were dedicated. We attended some of the Couchbase days. We really understood what Couchbase has to offer, and we had Couchbase people coming in and doing some presentations for us. And it was really a decision that could transform our company. So we had to go that way because of the flexibility that it provides. Also, a lot of forum support. Even though we have a licensed edition, I think version, we have support, which we get some answers. Also, a lot of forums, if you start, being hands-on and start doing your POCs, if you break into something you don't know, you hit a roadblock, you would really put into the Couchbase forums, and they have done a great job answering all my questions. I don't know how many questions I even posted there. So it was I would say, a learning curve for us, because my team came from an Android development background, and for them to even adapt to this was, I think, really, really commendable. And they've done a great job adapting to this JavaScript and mobile libraries. And also the IT leadership here supported us a lot to, give us this opportunity to innovate and build this for us here. Okay.
Great. Thank you. I think we have time for one last question, and that's, what's the size of Couchbase Lite?
That's a great question, actually. It just depends on the number of documents you have. So our SQLite somehow, goes between sometimes 80 MB to 100. We've seen 120 MB. So there is a lot of big footprint. But right now we are seeing like 20 to 25 MB of CB But again, it depends on your JSON documents within that. And also you can really architect your system in a way that once the users are done with their data, they will not be doing anything more. So instead, it's like an archive, right? So you can really move that data to another channel which the user does not have access to, so it will be pruned from the device. So that is something we could implement to ensure that the footprint is really, really small on the device.
Okay. Looks like we have time for another one. And it's, how are your SQL developers responding to having a new database in the environment?
So that's a bit of a challenge if you're coming from a SQL background. As I say, it's hard to unlearn SQL, but I think we've got some quite positive outlook here to see how we could adapt to Nickel, because I think one of the biggest things that we have with Couchbase is Nickel. So if you know SQL, it is very easy to adapt to Nickel, which is very, very similar to SQL. You can do joins, you can do whatnot. All what you did with SQL, you could really do with Nickel. So that has helped us to keep going with what kind of analytics or data queries that we have to write within Couchbase.
Great. Well, Prathi, thank you so much for your presentation and your commitment to the questions. We had a couple of questions for you there. And also, Ali, thank you so much. And I'd also like to thank you for just taking time out of your schedule to be with us, and we appreciate it. And I'd also like to thank the audience for attending. The webcast was sponsored by Couchbase and presented by adtmag.com. So thanks, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.